All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at the hidden history of an object that is probably sitting in your kitchen right now. I mean, most of us slice into it without thinking twice, right? We just treat it as another basic ingredient. But beneath those familiar, papery layers lies one of history's absolute most remarkable stories. So today, we're going to unpack the forgotten history of the onion and look at how this humble, sovereign bulb quite literally helped shape the human story. To really get a sense of just how powerful this story is, I want to kick things off with the question: what if I told you that one of the most ordinary vegetables in the world actually helped build the Great Pyramids of Egypt? I know, it sounds almost unbelievable. It kind of seems crazy when you think about it just sitting there next to the potatoes in your pantry. But it's true. For thousands of years, people didn't just eat onions, they literally revered them. Laborers were actually paid with them. Pharaohs demanded to be buried with them. Ancient doctors heavily relied on them as medicine. And Roman soldiers, they wouldn't even march into battle without them. Early humans genuinely believed this simple bulb brought strength, protection, and incredibly, eternal life. Which brings us to Section 1, the onion's ancient origins, from wild root to global staple. Let's start our journey at the very beginning to see exactly where this mighty vegetable came from. Think about this. Thousands of years ago, wild onions grew naturally across Central Asia. And for ancient people living out there, finding a crop that could survive extreme weather and brutal, long winters, that meant the literal difference between survival and starvation. Unlike a lot of other early crops that required super delicate care, wild onions needed practically nothing. And most importantly, they could be stored for months without spoiling. In a world where your next meal was never, ever guaranteed, this was an absolute game changer. So, as humans shifted from foraging to farming, they started cultivating these wild onions. And as human civilization expanded, well, the onion traveled right alongside us. It's a fascinating timeline. Millennia ago, they're cultivated in Central Asia. Centuries later, they spread across Persia. Then they're traded into Mesopotamia, and by the ancient era, they reached ancient Egypt. And it was right there, in the fertile lands along the Nile, that the onion story flipped completely. Moving right along to Section 2, Food of the Pharaohs, Eternity in Every Layer. Let's see how this transforms from a mere survival food into something profoundly sacred. In ancient Egypt, you have to understand the onion was way more than just a side dish. The Egyptians looked at its round shape and those concentric, seemingly endless layers, and they saw a physical representation of eternity. They deeply believed that life, death, and rebirth repeated forever, right? And so this ordinary vegetable became a powerful, tangible symbol of that exact core religious belief. And this wasn't just some poetic metaphor either. Archaeologists have actually discovered onions resting deep inside Egyptian tombs. When examining certain mummies, historians found that onions were placed directly over their eyes or carefully tucked beside their bodies. The Egyptians believed the onion had such potent spiritual properties that it would literally act as a guide into the afterlife. Absolutely wild, isn't it? But the ancient world also recognized the physical benefits of the onion way before modern chemistry existed. While pharaohs took them into the afterlife, the workers building the pyramids were eating them daily for sheer endurance. The ancient Greeks caught on too. They fed them to athletes before major competitions to boost strength. Roman soldiers hauled them on massive military campaigns, and early doctors used them to treat wounds and digestion. They didn't know the words antioxidants or plant compounds, but they knew for sure that onions kept people tough and healthy. That takes us to Section 3, Surviving the Dark Ages, the currency of survival. As the Roman Empire collapsed and Europe plunged into a very difficult era, the onion took on a gritty new role. Look at this dramatic shift. During this time, food was becoming incredibly scarce. Harvests were failing right and left, and long winters threatened to wipe out whole villages. The onion went from being this sacred symbol buried with kings to being the sole reason many everyday families survived the Middle Ages. It pivoted completely into a vital, everyday survival tool. So, why the onion? Simply put, it was a survivor. They were extremely cheap, you could grow them practically anywhere, and just like back in ancient Central Asia, they lasted for months with zero refrigeration. Because they were so resilient, onions basically became the absolute backbone of the diet for poor families during the Dark Ages. Tossed into soups, boiled into stews, baked into bread, they added it to pretty much every single meal they could scrape together. Okay, but here's where it gets truly wild. In a lot of places, onions actually became a form of currency. It is mind-blowing to think that you could literally pay your landlord your monthly rent using onions. People traded them for everyday goods, and honestly, this is my favorite fact. Families would give onions as wedding gifts, genuinely believing it would bring the newlyweds prosperity and good fortune. Imagine getting a sack of onions at your wedding today. All right, Section 4, the science of crying, unlocking the mystery. We've officially reached a phenomenon every single one of you has likely experienced in your own kitchen. It feels like a totally personal attack when your eyes just start watering uncontrollably at the cutting board, doesn't it? We've all been there. But the answer to why onions make you cry is actually a surprisingly brilliant piece of science. So let's break it down. The crucial thing to understand is that it's a very specific, lightning-fast chemical chain reaction. Step 1, your knife cuts in and damages the onion cells. Step 2, those broken cells release natural sulfur compounds. Step 3, an enzyme inside the onion instantly transforms those compounds into this invisible gas that floats right up. And finally, step 4, that gas hits the natural moisture in your eyes, forming a mild acid. Your body's immediate reaction is to produce tears just to wash that acid away. And all of this happens in just a matter of seconds. The really fascinating takeaway here is that the onion isn't doing this to be mean. It's simply deploying a natural, evolutionary defense mechanism that's designed to stop insects and hungry animals from eating it. It's basically biochemical warfare. Ironically, this brilliant defense meant to keep pests away hasn't stopped us humans at all. We just wipe our tears and keep right on chopping. Which brings us to Section 5, a world-changing vegetable, the journey to America and beyond. Let's look at how this resilient, tear-inducing little bulb conquered the New World. When European explorers started sailing across the Atlantic, they brought onion seeds right along with them. And just as it had done for millennia, the crop adapted incredibly fast, this time to North American soil. Colonists planted them outside their homes, and Native American communities quickly integrated them, trading and cultivating entirely new varieties. The onion basically expanded westward right alongside the developing country. Fast forward a bit, and by the 19th century, it was one of the most important vegetables in America. Today, the scale is almost hard to wrap your head around. Millions of tons of onions are produced in the United States every single year. We're talking about massive, sweeping fields spanning from California up to Washington, over to Idaho, supplying our supermarkets, restaurants, and home kitchens. And this really highlights the onion's ultimate triumph. Today, it's one of the world's most important crops. It grows on literally every single continent on Earth, except Antarctica. It is the foundational flavor in thousands of modern recipes. Think about it. It's essential to the American burger, French onion soup, Indian curries, Mexican salsa. The list goes on. It's this single, quiet ingredient that connects distinct cultures and diets across the entire globe, all while being packed with the nutrients and antioxidants that scientists are still studying today. So, what does this all mean? Well, from the harsh winters of ancient Central Asia, to the literal tombs of Egyptian pharaohs, through the brutal times of the Middle Ages, and finally to pretty much every kitchen around the world today, the onion has been our constant companion. While modern scientists confirm its place in a healthy diet, it is so clear that its historical impact is just as potent as its nutritional value. Beneath every familiar layer lies thousands of years of the human story. So, I want to leave you with this thought to ponder from our source text. The next time you slice an onion, remember you're holding one of civilization's oldest, most remarkable foods. As you're wiping away a tear at the cutting board tonight, ask yourself, what other world-changing histories are hiding in plain sight, right there on your dinner plate? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes open for the remarkable stories hidden in the everyday.